Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about topic 2.6, expansion of presidential power. In this lesson, we're going to be learning about how presidents have justified the use of their powers to expand the power of the presidency. So let's talk about the original president, George Washington. Lots of people like to talk about how George Washington really attempted to make sure that the power of the presidency remained low. He turned down lofty titles. In fact, that's why we call the president Mr. President or Madam President. He instilled public confidence in the office by not taking too much power. People were still fearful at this time about the executive becoming more like a king. And he left voluntarily after 2 terms to relieve fears of that creeping monarchy. Again, people were still fearful at this time. One interesting thing about Washington, though, is that he is the only president to have physically led the military while in office. Just a little quick fact there. Early presidents like Jefferson, Madison, and Adams vetoed very infrequently. Most of the time, they just signed off on legislation. They wrote very few executive orders, and typically they only served 2 terms. But even with those early presidents, there were these expansions of presidential power. There was these uses of presidential power that were a little bit beyond the scope of what was written in the Constitution. For example, the Louisiana Purchase made by Thomas Jefferson helped to more than double the size of the country. Well, there's not really a space in the Constitution that says you can buy a bunch of land. There was also the Monroe Doctrine, which was a warning to European countries to basically stay out of the Western Hemisphere, that we got this. We've got the Western Hemisphere, we'll take care of it. Again, Constitution doesn't really give the president the power to bully Europe, but it was not technically outside of the realm of what was written into the Constitution. So it was able to pass. One way that presidents are able to expand their power is through the checks that they have on the other 2 branches. One check that the executive branch has over the judicial branch is the power to pardon, which is basically forgiving a crime that somebody has committed, even if they have been found guilty within the judicial system. Presidents give pardons and grant pardons every single year. Some famous pardons have included Roger Clinton, who was President Bill Clinton's brother for a 1-year drug charge in 2001. Richard Nixon, who was pardoned by Gerald Ford prior to actually being charged with any crime in the Watergate scandal. Jefferson Davis was pardoned well after his death by Jimmy Carter in 1978, and he was actually given back his full citizenship rights. Now, just so that you know, Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederacy, so that was an interesting thing for Carter to have done in the 1970s. And then Jimmy Hoffa. So Jimmy Hoffa was a mobster. He was serving a 15-year prison sentence when Richard Nixon pardoned him in 1971. Most of the expansion of presidential power, though, has come through executive orders. Now, executive orders are not inherently bad nor inherently good. They're just a tool that the president has to instruct the rest of the executive branch on how to implement policy. Some presidents have used them, however, to go beyond the scope of what Congress originally intended for the laws that they wrote. Some have had really negative consequences, like FDR's executive order that placed Japanese American citizens in internment camps during World War II. Others, however, have had positive impacts, like Truman's integration of the military or Obama's DACA order, which allows Dreamers to stay in the U.S. without fear of deportation. Executive privilege is an informal presidential power that allows the president to refuse to disclose information regarding confidential conversations or national security to Congress or the judiciary. It's been used a lot throughout history, especially more recent history. Nixon tried and failed to cover up information regarding Watergate by claiming executive privilege. However, the Supreme Court decided that executive privilege could not be used to cover up criminal activity. George W. Bush invoked executive privilege to refuse to disclose information about Vice President Cheney's meetings with energy executives. President Obama utilized executive privilege in regard to the Fast and Furious controversy in which ATF agents actually sold guns to drug cartels through American store owners and allowed them to cross the border in hopes that they would be able to find and arrest more cartel members. And President Trump has invoked executive privilege for both the Russia investigation and the Ukraine impeachment investigation. The expansion of presidential power has been a slow process, but sometimes it's had large jumps and spurts, like with the Louisiana Purchase. But Congress has not sat idly by and just allowed the president to take over the government without trying to rein in the presidency. In our last topic, we talked about the War Powers Act under President Nixon. There have also been 2 amendments added to the Constitution to help limit the power of the presidency. The 22nd Amendment actually limits the president to 2 terms. Prior to this, presidents could have unlimited terms, and Roosevelt, FDR, actually was elected to 4 terms of the presidency. He died in office during his 4th term. The 25th Amendment actually helps set up the line of succession, or the list of people who would take over for the president if everybody in front of them was taken out of the picture at once. And so this officially states that the vice president is supposed to take over if the president is incapacitated. Now that means even if the president isn't necessarily dead, but is incapacitated, so has to have surgery or gets really sick and is no longer able to function for the time being, the vice president is supposed to take over according to the 25th Amendment. The 25th Amendment also provides a way for the cabinet to remove the president from office. This has never been done, and I don't know that it has even really been talked about within any presidential cabinet. The presidential line of succession is interesting. It goes all the way down through the end of the cabinet department. So there's 15 cabinet departments. It goes the president, then the vice president, then it goes into Congress. So it is the Speaker of the House, and then the President pro tempore of the Senate. Then it gets into the cabinet departments by when they were created. So the oldest cabinet department is first. So that is the Secretary of State. In this lesson, you have learned how presidents have justified the use of their powers to expand the presidency. If there's anything that you missed, please feel free to go back now and rewatch any part of this video that you need to. Once you're done with that, go ahead and answer the summarizing question in your notes so that you can get the stamp the next time you're in class. All right, guys, that's it for now. See you later. Bye.